The Indiana Fever win the Commissioner's Cup.
The Indiana Fever just put the beats on the Minnesota Lynx.
Caitlin Clark, like some mad stuff, and I'm not going to be playing too much of the noise. Caitlin Clark walking around the team with the Commissioner's Cup trophy.
Well, what a game for the Indiana Fever. They came up with the victory against the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup.
The second that final buzzer echoed through the arena, the place absolutely erupted. But it's what happened behind those locker room doors just minutes later that's got the entire internet losing its mind.
That's gonna be a no! Congratulations, lady!
The Fever went on a run. They did not allow the Lynx to score for over 8 minutes.
The Indiana Fever are sipping the sweet nectar of the Commissioner's Cup.
A raw, electric, totally unfiltered clip of Caitlin Clark going wild after the Fever's jaw-dropping Commissioner's Cup win hit social media and instantly blew up. If you support the Fever, then comment Fever Champs. Let's go.
She got chased by Trey Lachey. Is that how you pronounce it? Got chased by Caitlin Clark, Lexie Hull, and Sophie Cunningham with champagne.
She wasn't even suited up, didn't have a single stat on the box score. Yet there she was, full of life, laughing her head off, jumping around with Aliyah Boston on TikTok Live, proudly blasting out "Proud of my girls" to her story.
But Caitlin Clark in the middle of it goes, she just shouts in, "I just know everyone in the league is sick." And Aliyah Boston goes, "They're pissed."
Congratulations to the Indiana Fever. We are the champions of the 2025 Commissioner's Cup.
Caitlin Clark didn't just witness this victory. She felt every ounce of it, living it alongside her teammates like she'd just nailed the game winner herself. That video from inside the locker room? It's the gut punch reminder that she's way more than just the face of this franchise. She's the very heartbeat.
The WNBA posting about it immediately.
Nobody, especially not ESPN, saw this coming. They were already rolling out graphics that read, "Lynx dominate Fever to capture Commissioner's Cup." But on the hardwood, Indiana clearly hadn't read that script.
ESPN did, with the Indiana Fever getting dominated by the Minnesota Lynx.
Contrary to what you may have seen on ESPN's YouTube page, the Fever dominated the Lynx to win the Commissioner's Cup.
Down by 13 in the first quarter, missing shots left and right, looking rattled and borderline lost, it seemed like the Fever were headed straight for a long, painful night. Then suddenly, everything flipped. An 18-0 tidal wave hit. 8 entire minutes where the Lynx couldn't buy a single point.
It did not look like the Fever was going to win this game. I mean, they were down by 13 at one point in the beginning of the game. Nobody could sink a bucket. The Lynx weren't even playing that well, but they were definitely not letting the Fever get anything off.
In an instant, the Fever completely rewrote the narrative. And that chaotic, champagne-soaked locker room? That's where the real fireworks happened. As the team charged back down the tunnel after the final horn, phones were already up, music shaking the walls, and there was Caitlin Clark. Not in game gear, nowhere on the scoreboard, but dead center of the celebration.
Especially in the beginning, the Indiana Fever looked kind of like chickens with their heads cut off at moments. But, you know, they pulled it together. Stephanie White brought them together. And one thing I do have to say positive about Stephanie White is she makes adjustments.
Laughing, hollering, catching everything on live for her followers. Her "Proud of my girls" story was up before some fans had even left the stands.
She throws some freaking gasolina. And they start talking about Taylor Swift.
Fans, blogs, big media outlets. They snatched it up and shared it everywhere in seconds. Caitlin wasn't just clapping from the sidelines. She was setting the vibe for the entire squad. She jumped into Aliyah Boston's live, hype practically exploding out of her, then dropped the line that lit the sports world on fire.
That's for sure. Caitlin Clark is there, just coming in on live out of nowhere.
Whoa! Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there she is. Where's Kelsey? Kelsey left.
They got drunk very quickly. In fairness, after playing the game, you do.
I know the rest of the league is sick. And just like that, it went nuclear before the champagne even hit the carpet. Fans clipped it for Twitter, turned it into viral TikToks, plastered it on Reels, Caitlyn's off-the-cuff hype turned into the anthem of the entire night. It wasn't staged. It wasn't cooked up by some PR team. It was pure, unfiltered energy.
Oh man, what an upset. Oh my God, y'all see the shirt, baby? Fever basketball, man. What an upset. I gotta give major props.
This wasn't just about snagging a shiny trophy. This was a statement, and it was Caitlin Clark who put the exclamation point on it. What made that locker room moment so iconic wasn't just Caitlin's savage line. It was the fact that she didn't even log a single minute in the game. And yet somehow, her influence was everywhere, woven into every second of Indiana's epic win. The 2025 Commissioner's Cup was supposed to be a Lynx blowout. They rolled in as the heavyweights, stacked top to bottom with one of the most loaded lineups in the league.
74-59 was the final, guys. Let's check out this damn box score real quick before we get into how the world feel about this, guys. I am ecstatic right now. Energy is through the roof because you want to know why? Because they just showed the world they could still win it all.
ESPN literally had a draft stream prep that said, Lynx dominate Fever. They'd already counted Indiana out before the ball even tipped. They didn't see the smoldering fire waiting in that Fever locker room.
ESPN posted, I think around the third quarter, at least that's when I was notified about it, that the Lynx dominate the Fever to win the Commissioner's Cup. And I took a screenshot. This is totally my screenshot. So I went and I verified this because I just couldn't believe it. I could not believe that ESPN would have a thumbnail up. It's a placeholder for their upcoming show, and they must have decided that the prediction was that the Lynx were going to win, which, I mean, come on, you guys, did most of us think the Fever would win this? But ESPN, have you heard of an upset?
But Caitlin did. That's why her celebration wasn't just loud. It was deeply personal. She'd heard all the doubters, all the so-called experts saying Indiana was a one-woman show, that without Clark, they were toast. The team shattered that narrative, and from the bench, Caitlin was the loudest voice in the building.
I do want to see this get better. I think that once Caitlin Clark comes back, there will be more of a rhythm. And, you know, you can't say that the Fever would even be in the Commissioner's Cup if it weren't for Caitlin Clark. She deserves some credit there. Mismatch where she would be defending Napheesa Collier. And, I mean, you got to just laugh at.
Not because she was desperate to prove the haters wrong, but because she knew exactly how much her teammates poured into making that night possible.
We love you, Red Panda! Red Panda, if you're watching! Red Panda! Red Panda, if you're watching! We love you.
As the Fever locked in on defense during that second quarter, putting the clamps on the Lynx so tight they couldn't buy a bucket for over 8 straight minutes, Caitlin Clark was right there on the sideline, laser-focused. Her posture, her reactions, her entire vibe was fully invested, and it lit a spark that spread across the bench like wildfire.
Well, what a game for the Indiana Fever. I didn't think they were going to win it. I'm sure most of you didn't think they were going to win it, but they came up with the victory against the Lynx in the Commissioner's Cup to get that bag. Every single player is going to be getting around 50 to 60K from this game. That's big time money for these WNBA players that don't make that much. Shout out to the Fever for getting the win. That was an ugly game, though. More than it was a Fever win, I feel like it was a Lynx loss. They just played atrocious in that game. Courtney Williams was 4 for 14. Napheesa Collier was 6 for 18 from the field. Those two players were sucky. The entire team was sucky. They didn't even crack 60 points in this game.
When the game finally ended, she wasn't just politely applauding from her seat. She was sprinting down the sideline, grabbing teammates in bear hugs, hollering her lungs out, and then doing what all real leaders do best, making sure the spotlight shone on everyone else first. That one simple, proud of my girls story, it tore through social media like wildfire. It reminded fans, teammates, even the doubters that Caitlin Clark isn't just a superstar with the ball. She's the kind who knows how to lead without ever stepping on the floor. But then came the real mic drop. Midway through a hyped-up TikTok live, Caitlin leaned into the camera and said the line that every Fever fan had been quietly thinking.
The Indiana Fever were prepped for this game because there's a target on their backs. Especially when Caitlin's there. There is a target on their backs that is not necessarily on other teams' backs.
I know the rest of the league is sick. It wasn't cocky, it wasn't petty, it was just straight, unfiltered truth. The league had basically left Indiana for dead. The media storyline was, no Caitlin, no chance. And yet there they were, trophy in hand. That little clip didn't just trend, it detonated. ESPN, Bleacher Report, Overtime WBB, and every WNBA fan account alive reposted it 100 different ways. This was bigger than popping champagne. It was a free masterclass in leadership. That viral locker room moment isn't just being shared because it was entertaining. It's already reshaping how people define what a franchise cornerstone really looks like. And that's what made it even more powerful. Caitlin didn't log a single minute on the court that night, yet her fingerprint was on every second of that win.
They're in better shape. They're in much, much better shape. Come playoff time, having been used to these games. Having been used to getting the other team's best shots every single time they play.
Because that Commissioner's Cup was supposed to be Minnesota's to lose. The Lynx came in looking like the surest bet in the WNBA. Stacked, balanced, veteran-laced. ESPN had their little Lynx Dominate Fever graphic ready to roll. They wrote Indiana off like it was a formality. They missed the fire that was already crackling inside that Fever locker room. And Caitlin? Oh, she felt it. That's why her reaction was so unscripted, so fierce. She knew exactly what the narrative was. Indiana's nothing without her. One-dimensional, easy pickings. And so watching her teammates bulldoze that storyline, she became their biggest hype woman because she knew exactly what it cost them to prove everybody wrong.
Indiana Fever are the 2025 Commissioner Cup champions, bro. And they beat a team that was over 500 without Caitlin Clark. Natasha Howard showed up and showed out. Let's take a look at some of these clips. Watch some of these clips, bro.
They have 7 points.
My voice gonna be gone.
4 Indiana turnovers already.
Look at it. Look at it.
Finds a cutting McDonald.
Man.
Easy deuce.
Beautiful. Nice.
Howard. Double teamed. Outside. Cunningham for 3. Yes.
Nice.
You see that ball movement starting to open.
Gives it up to Howard. 5 on the shot clock. Howard. As Carlton goes down. Howard.
Cooking, baby. We need not say no more. We need not say no more. Natasha Howard versus Minnesota 16-12 double-double. Double-double machines, bro. Double-double machines. Belt to ass. I don't want to hear nothing from nobody. I want to hear nothing from no damn haters the rest of the year, bro.
It wasn't about her needing to prove anything. It was about knowing firsthand how hard that team grinds, how badly they wanted it, and how they'd earned every last confetti drop. During that suffocating second quarter defensive clinic, while the Lynx couldn't get a shot to fall if the rim was the size of a swimming pool, Caitlin was practically vibrating courtside. Her commitment was so locked in, it infected the entire bench unit. When the final horn blared, she wasn't just clapping politely. She charged the hardwood like she'd been out there dropping 30.
I do want to see this get better. I think that once Caitlin Clark comes back, there will be more of a rhythm.
She grabbed teammates, yelled encouragement, fired everyone up, and did what all the best leaders always do. Pointed the cameras away from herself and back toward the squad. That tiny Instagram post, it blew up across social media. Fans, reporters, even rival players took notice. It was proof that Caitlin doesn't have to fill up a stat sheet to dominate a room. She leads from wherever she's standing. Because let's be honest, this wasn't about some lone superstar dropping 40 or highlight dunks. This was a gritty, team-fueled triumph. Natasha Howard balled out, snagging a double-double and shutting down one of the Lynx's deadliest scorers.
Natasha Howard came out on top with 16 points and 12 rebounds. She got a double-double. She was the MVP.
Natasha Howard ball. Any bad things I ever said about Natasha Howard, I am sorry. I am sorry. Oh my God, I am so sorry.
Sophie Cunningham caught absolute fire from deep, hitting triples that turned the momentum.
Sophie Cunningham came away with 13 points.
Sophie, the blonde bomber from 3. Sophie Cunningham found her 3-point shot today, y'all. Sophie is ready now. Sophie Cunningham came off the bench, 13.7 rebounds. She was a plus 18, hit 3 of 5 threes.
Aari McDonald ran the floor like her hair was on fire, pressing the pace and harassing defenders.
One of them, I thought early on in the game, really helped them early, and it's Aari McDonald. Regardless of plus minus, I think at the very start of the game, Aari McDonald was the player that really brought them into it at the start. Like 12 points, no one above 16 points, no one above 16. I thought she was fantastic.
And Aliyah Boston? She anchored the whole operation, dominating boards, locking up the paint, and facilitating offense like a 10-year vet.
And Aliyah Boston had to have big games offensively.
Aliyah Boston, 33 minutes, 11 rebounds, 6 assists, 12 points. Guess what? Double-double.
Aliyah Boston with 12 points, 6 assists, and 11 rebounds. another double-double.
Aliyah Boston was 5 of 15, but she was banging. She was banging down low. They both only had 12 points, but Aliyah Boston had 6 assists, 11 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block.
Yet through it all, there was Caitlin, the heartbeat, hugging every player, gassing up every bench contributor, catching the whole celebration on her phone. That now famous clip of her dancing around, filming everyone, with that massive grin while champagne rained down in the background. It was bigger than content. It was a symbol.
That's for sure. Caitlin Clark is there.
Whoa! Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there she is.
They got drunk very quickly. In fairness, after playing the game, you do.
It proved you don't always need buckets to be invaluable. And maybe the scariest part for the rest of the WNBA? This team just did that without her. Now imagine what's waiting when Caitlin's back on the floor, running the break, launching logo threes, feeding Aliyah in stride. That locker room clip wasn't just a hype video, it was a warning shot. The league got a preview of a Fever squad that can win without their biggest gun. And with Caitlin fueling it all from the sidelines, this is only the beginning. Indiana isn't just Caitlin Clark's team anymore. It's quickly turning into her entire movement. The Indiana Fever didn't just snag the 2025 Commissioner's Cup. They flipped the league's whole narrative on its head. And that now legendary locker room footage of Caitlin made sure it was immortalized. No stat lines needed. No highlight mixtape. Just pure, visceral leadership and a presence you can't bottle or buy. She wasn't in the box score, but she was in every frame that mattered. Rallying, guiding, lifting her team up into something bigger.
Congratulations to the Indiana Fever. We are the champions of the 2025 Commissioner's Cup.
That's gonna be an bell. Congratulations, lady.
She got chased by Trey Lachey. Is that how you pronounce it? Got chased by Caitlin Clark, Lexie Hull, and Sophie Cunningham with champagne. That's for sure. Caitlin Clark is there, just coming in on live out of nowhere.
Whoa! Okay.
Yeah.
Well, there she is. Where's Kelsey? Kelsey left.
They got drunk very quickly. In fairness, after playing the game, you do.
This wasn't just about a championship. It was a statement of intent. The Fever aren't some one-woman novelty act. They're a growing force, a new culture, a squad building something real. And Caitlin? She's not just their future, she's their pulse. So to all those talking heads who doubted, who said Indiana couldn't do it without her, Caitlin's already dropped the mic for them. I know the rest of the league is sick. After this, they absolutely should be. If you support the Fever, then comment Fever Champs. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.